The War of 1812 was fought between the British and the Americans, even though most of the actual fighting took place in Canada. The United States wanted to obliterate any signs of their mother country in their new land, and Great Britain really just wanted more manpower for their ships. Although the war wasn't officially declared until June of 1812, conflicts between the British and Americans began 9 years earlier. It all started in 1803, when the British began to force American sailors to work on British ships. Great Britain wanted to be in charge again after the American Revolution. Across the pond, France and Britain were busying themselves with the Napoleonic Wars. During these wars, both countries banned the United States from trading with the other. This interference with America's ships angered the people, further encouraging them to completely separate themselves from Britain. Finally, in 1807, Britain released some of its built-up tension and fired on the American ship, the Chesapeake. Of course, this only made the Americans more furious. In 1808, James Madison Jr. became president. Cue patriotic music. Just kidding. America really didn't have any until the conclusion of the war, when Francis Scott Key wrote what would become America's national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Several things happened in November of the year 1811. First, the War Congress convened to discuss the possibility of war with Britain. You see, the president at the time, James Madison, had made the issue of impressment a matter of national sovereignty and asked for a declaration of war. Second, the Battle of Tippecanoe happened. It is considered the first battle of the war, even though it hadn't been officially declared yet. It was fought between the founder of the Native American. In June of 1812, America finally declared war on Britain. Let's be honest, we all knew it was coming. But apparently the American people weren't so keen on the idea, as seen by the riots in Baltimore in the summer of 1812. Baltimore was home to mostly French, German, and other European immigrants opposed to the war. Here's when things start to get rolling. In July, General William Hull entered Canada, a British colony at the time. The goal was to expand the United States land. However, General Hull failed 3 times. By August 16th of 1812, Hull surrendered Detroit to the British. In October, at the Battle of Queenston Heights, the New York militia launched an invasion across the Niagara River, twice. Unprepared for the cold weather and rough currents, the American soldiers were defeated, although British General Isaac Brock was killed. Just like the Europeans in a Russian winter, America never learned their lesson when trying to get into Canada. Even today, people are trying to cross the border, albeit more peacefully, but they still failed because the immigration site crashed. There was a little lull in fighting until January of 1813, during which time the Native Americans allied with the British because they saw this as the only way to stop pesky Americans from taking their land. In January of 1813, the British and Indian allies defeated American troops at the Battle of Frenchtown. The next day, all American survivors were massacred. If they hadn't already, Americans now understood that this war would not be an easy win. Hang tight, only 2 more years to go. In April of the same year, Americans captured and burned the city of York in Canada. Unfortunately, 38 died and 222 were injured. In September, under Captain Perry, the American Army once again defeated the British at the Battle of Lake Erie and won control over the lake for the remainder of the war. The British won the Battle of Chrysler's Farm, Canada, in November, preventing the United States from capturing Montreal. Thank goodness, too, or else the world would be deprived of Canadian jokes. Another battle in Canada, the Battle of Chippewa, took place in July of 1814. This time, the Americans won and proved their strength against the British forces. Shortly thereafter, also in July, was the Battle of Lundy's Lane, the bloodiest battle of the war. The British suffered 878 casualties, and the Americans suffered 853. Both sides claimed victory. Finally, in August, peace negotiations began in Ghent, Belgium, but the United States saw no such thing. Not to be outdone from their defeat in York, the British marched straight into Washington, D.C. on August 24th and burned the city.
Created using Powtoon.